What's up? I am Runs with Alpacas, and I have a deck profile. This one is for Cubics. It's a deck that I've been playing a lot of recently, and it's a deck that I think is really fun to play, and I can only imagine that it's not a whole lot of fun to play against. It's purely an OTK deck, not built to grind out games, really. If you can't win by attacking with the big boss monster, you might as well just pick up. Quite frankly, it's not a bad deck for today's format. Trickstar Sky Striker being one of the more popular decks. They don't have a lot of attack. Even against Goki, it's not too bad. Let's get started. To start off, I play 3 copies of Duza. Duza is your best cubic monster. It's one of only 2 that can be normal summoned. When this guy is normal or special summoned, you Foolish Burial one of your cubic spell or trap cards. All the cubic spell and trap cards have engrave effects where you can banish them, and they're all really good effects, and they're not once per turn. Not even Duza is once per turn. There's only one once per turn clause in the entire cubic deck, and that's to burn your opponent. So Duza is your best cubic monster. Gets your rank 4 plays going, facilitates some link plays. So 3 copies of Duza. Next, I play 3 copies of Vijam, the Cubic Seed. This is the other normal summonable cubic monster. You usually don't want to normal summon Vijam. It's alright if you do. It cannot be destroyed by battle, so it's a way to kind of stall your opponent out while you build your hand, so you can special summon the main cubic boss monster. But what you really want Vijam for is to send it from your hand or deck to the graveyard to use the spell trap cards. They require Vijam. Some of the cubic monster effects can special summon Vijams back from the graveyard. So you really don't want to special summon it. You want to send it to the graveyard with the spells, but you still need 3 of them because you can normal summon it, so it's important to have normal summonable monsters. Your win condition of the deck is 3 copies of Crimson Nova, the Dark Cubic Lord. This guy is insane. You special summon him from your hand by revealing 3 cubic cards with different names, but it can't be himself, so it does need to be 3 different cubic cards, not including Crimson Nova. He's unaffected by activated monster effects. If their original attack is 3,000 or less, it would be so much better if it was just straight up unaffected by monster effects, because I do play Baguska in the extra deck, so if Baguska's in defense, Crimson Nova will go to defense, even though it's unaffected by monster effects. That's a continuous effect, so he does get stricken by that. But why he's your win condition is because he can attack twice if he destroys an opponent's monster, and he does 3,000 burn damage to both you and your opponent during the end phase. So that's, with a 3,000 attack monster, if you can do 2,000 attack, 2,000 damage with one attack, 3,000 with a direct attack, the 3,000 burn in the end phase will be exactly 8,000. If you summon 2 of these guys, then you most likely should be winning that duel. But this is your win condition. It's I said Deuce is the best monster, but this is your win condition, so it's your best monster. Next, I play some 1 of cubics. I play 4 of them. I play 1 Giragail, 1 Blade Garudia, 1 Buster Gundle, and 1 Indiria Doomvolt. These 2 cards are almost exactly the same. You never summon these from their own special summoning conditions, but you can summon them ignoring their summoning conditions with the cubic trap card. But on field, if they're sent to the graveyard by your opponent by battle or card effect, you can special summon 3 cubic monsters from your graveyard and then search for any cubic card from your deck to your hand. So in some circumstances, you do want to summon these with the trap card, but mainly they're just here for names. This guy also is just mainly here for names, but Giragail, you special summon it by attributing 1 cubic monster you control, and then you do 800 burn damage to your opponent. So, under the new time rules, Giragail is really important. It's easy to get to it with Duza. You summon Duza, you send one of the spell cards, and the spell card can search for this, so you immediately can summon it. So this facilitates some plays. It can win you games. So these 4 I choose to play. Most people usually just play 3, but I play 4. I think it's It just makes it a little easier to summon Crimson Nova. That's it for the cubic monsters. I do play 3 copies of Summoner Monk. I see people either play 2 copies or 3 copies of Summoner Monk. It's up to personal preference. Either can be correct. I just choose to play 3 because I think it's an important monster to have. It helps with your rank 4 plays and some of your link plays that you do have. I play 2 copies of Battle Fader. Just this deck can be really slow. So Battle Fader can extend your lifeline just a little bit, just enough that you need it. It's also dark, so I do play Lure of Darkness, so having extra dark targets is always good. And then the last monster I play is 1 copy of Gen X Ally Birdman. It's only limited to 1, so that's why I only play 1. Its main purpose is that it's a level 3 tuner, so it lets you go into it lets you go into a few different options of synchro plays, but for this deck, I only play level 7 synchros. So I play 1 Gen X Ally Birdman. It can be good. You can actually special summon this by sending Crimson Nova back, and if you still have 3 cubic cards in your hand other than Crimson Nova, you can just special summon the Crimson Nova back, so you get an extra 1400 attack out there. So Gen X Ally Birdman, it's pretty good. For spell cards, I play 3 copies of Cubic Karma. In my opinion, this is the best cubic card to send to the graveyard with Duza. In the graveyard, you can banish this and search for any cubic monster. So it searches for your cubic lord, which is your win condition. It's really important. I mentioned earlier you can search for Guile to special summon and do 800 bird damage if you happen to be going into time. That could be really important. The on-field effect isn't awful. Basically, you play it, you send any number of YUGIOH, the cubic seeds, from your deck or hand to the graveyard, and you boost a cubic monster's attack by 800 for each 1 cent. So it can increase a cubic monster by 2400. I rarely ever play this as an actual card. In fact, if I ever have to get rid of this, I'll often set it and get rid of it with some of my spell trap removal, just to get stuff going. Next, I play 3 copies of Cubic Wave. In my opinion, Cubic Wave is the most broken card in the deck, which is saying a lot because Crimson Nova is a really good card. In Grave, you can banish this and any number of cubics, and it's basically a fiendish chain. You target a number of your opponent's monsters equal to the number of cubics you banished, and those monsters cannot attack and their effects are negated. But that's not why this card is broken. This card is broken because when you play it from your hand, you target one cubic monster you control and one of your opponent's monsters. You double the cubic monster's attack, and you have the attack of your opponent's monster. So this with Crimson Nova makes it a 6,000 attack point monster that can attack twice. So if you use Crimson Wave, or Cubic Wave rather, and Crimson Nova, you should definitely be winning. That's how you want to win 90% of the time, is Cubic Wave and Crimson Nova. Next, I play 3 copies of Foolish Burial Goods. This is the best spell card in the entire deck, maybe the best card in the entire deck, because this becomes any of your cubic spell traps that you need to be in the grave. Really good, facilitates your plays. It's really unfortunate that it's a once per turn clause, but if it wasn't a once per turn clause, it would likely be at 1, such as the original Foolish Burial, and we don't want that. We want to play 3. For draw cards, I opt to play 2 copies of Pot of Desires and 2 copies of Allure of Darkness. Drawing is pretty important in this deck. You do a lot of searching with cards like Cubic Karma, Summoner Monk, and Duza. Also do a lot of sending from deck to grave. Foolish Burial Goods does the same thing. So I might want to play either 3 Desires or 3 Allure and then 2 of the other. But for now, I just do 2 and 2, and it's working all right. And then I also do play 1 Metal Foes Fusion. You can send this with Foolish Burial Goods, or even better if you send this with Summoner Monk to special summon a monster. Shuffle it back from the graveyard and draw 1 card. So it's like an indirect draw card, but I play it just to have an extra option. Next, I play 3 copies of Twin Twister. This deck is really not good against back row. you have no protection from spells and traps, so you need to clear them if you can. And obviously, discarding in this deck is only going to help you in the long run. If you just discard the spells or traps, it's just going to help you. So Twin Twister at 3, it's not overkill, it's actually really good. And the last spell card I play is one Monster Gate. It's a little bit of a tech choice. I have seen other people play it in cubics, but none of the cubic profiles I've seen recently still play the Monster Gate. Basically, Monster Gate's only good for helping get the effect of your cubic trap card in the grave. Speaking of which, I play 3 copies of the trap card Unification of the Cubic Lords. Basically, if a cubic monster leaves your field, you can banish this from the graveyard and special summon a level 4 or lower cubic from the deck, ignoring its summoning conditions. So we can get a Duza, which can get another dump of a spell trap card. It can summon any of the level 4s that cannot normally be summoned except for by their own effects, if you need their on-field effects for when they're destroyed. And on-field, it can fusion summon the one fusion monster, but that rarely ever comes up. It's really hard to get off. But those are the only trap cards I play, and that's the entire main deck. For the extra deck, probably one of the most important monsters is Underclock Taker. This with Crimson Nova, you're getting 3,000 direct damage, guaranteed, and you're going to get another attack with the Crimson Nova, maybe even 1,000 direct attack with Underclock Taker, and then the 3,000 burn in the end phase. You're most likely going to win. I play some Nightmares. I play 1 Nightmare Cerberus, 1 Nightmare Phoenix, and I do play 1 Nightmare Mermaid. Cerberus and Phoenix, it's good for getting rid of a monster, good for getting rid of a back row, and the discard effect is also just only going to help you. And then if I want to, I can get rid of them with Mermaid just to clear out the extra monster zone, so I can have another zone for the extra deck. That rarely ever comes up. Honestly, there's way better cards to play than Nightmare Mermaid. I don't have any other cards that I really want to play that badly. I play 1 copy of Abyss Dweller, really good against the Goki matchup. It effectively shuts off their turn. They kind of rely on the graveyard, so 1 copy of Abyss Dweller is really good. 1 copy of Castel is just great for clearing out a problematic card. The card to go into most often, number 41 Baguska. 1 Karen Gorin. This is kind of cool if your opponent tries to activate a monster effect while you have Crimson Nova on the field. That targets a card. You can redirect with Karen Gorin to Crimson Nova, which will likely be unaffected by that monster effect. So Karen Gorin is really cool. I play the full Utopia package of 3. I think if you're playing Utopia, you're going to want to play the intermediate step to get into the Lightning, so you can activate Lightning's effect twice. Utopia the Lightning's really good in this deck if you have Crimson Nova on field already, because you're attacking with 5,000, then Crimson Nova, and then maybe Crimson Nova again, so just another really good way to push for game. I play 1 F.A. Dawn Dragster, 1 Black Rose Dragon, and 1 Samurai Destroyer. These are enabled because of the Gen X Ally Birdman. Black Rose Dragon, obviously, just really good for clearing out the field, especially if you have the ability to summon Crimson Nova afterwards. Dawn Dragster is just an absolute powerhouse card, negates almost everything that your opponent will try and do. Samurai Destroyer is neat. It's got the Armades effect in the battle phase. Your opponent can't activate spells or traps when it battles. And when it's destroyed, you get a machine back from your graveyard. Duza is a machine, so Samurai Destroyer will revive your Duza, which is really, really important. And the last card I choose to play is 1 Crimson Nova, the fusion version. You fusion summon this with the spell, or rather with the trap card, and 3 copies of Crimson Nova. It's got 4,500 attack. It has the effect that when it declares an attack, you have your opponent's life points. So that will immediately, assuming they're at a full 8,000, put them underneath the threshold for this card to attack for game. So this card, if you summon it, you should win, no problem. It can also attack twice. It's just really stupid, but it's really hard to play, but I do play 1 of it, just in case it ever comes up. So that is the entire cubic deck profile. I am fairly new to the cubic archetype, So some of my choices might not be totally correct, but I played around with the deck a lot recently, and it's been working really well. I hope you've enjoyed my deck profile. I hope you give cubics a chance if you have not, if you're just trying to learn how to build them. I think this is a good starting point. And it's a pretty good rogue option for this current meta, because as I've mentioned, there's not a lot of attack power out there, and that just makes Crimson Nova even better. So I hope you enjoyed, and see you later.